Eli Mercer had
We've been
come to
tracking
the
them
woods
for
to
weeks.
forget the noise of the world. For months,
And you're sure
his
this
life
is
in
the
the city
place?
had felt like a static-filled transmission. Jobs lost, friendships decaying, an gnawing emptiness he couldn't name. So he did what desperate men sometimes do. He vanished. Packed only a solar stove, a worn tent, and an old camera. He hiked deep into the Pacific Range, far past the tourist trails, until the air itself seemed to thin with solitude. The first few days were blissful. He wrote in his weathered notebook, photographed strange fungi, and listened to the wind move through the pines like the whisper of an old god. Nights were cold but bearable, warmed by his small fire and the occasional glimpse of the stars. Real stars, not the drowned-out versions seen through city haze. But on the fifth night something changed. It began with a flicker in the tree-line, like a shadow walking between trunks, too smooth, too deliberate to be wind. Eli told himself it was an elk, or maybe a trick of moonlight. But then came the sound. A faint hum, almost mechanical, blending with the night insect's chorus until it seemed to pulse beneath his skin. His fire crackled, hissed, and then, just for an instant, flared green. He couldn't sleep after that. To the invisible watcher. The next morning, Eli found something peculiar. About 50 yards from his campsite, near a fallen cedar, the ground was warm. Not sunlight warmed, but faintly radiating, as if some engine had lain there during the night. The pine needles were scorched in a perfect circle. He crouched down, touching the soil. It wasn't burned, it was vitrified, the way sand turns to glass under extreme heat. His camera clicked 3 times before the battery indicator flashed red and died. That night he tried to rationalize it. Meteor fragment. Lightning strike. Simple chemistry. But deep inside, a sliver of unease lodged itself like a splinter. He started noticing small changes. His tent zipper, which he always left half open for airflow, was fully closed in the morning. His journal was shifted a few inches from where he'd left it. And once, as he returned from a stream with his canteen, he saw movement again, a ripple between trees, like a transparent curtain being pulled aside. Then he began to hear breathing. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal either. It was too soft, too steady, like something imitating a human rhythm and almost getting it right. Eli spun around more than once with his knife drawn, finding nothing but air and branches. By the 10th day, the feeling of being watched had become unbearable. He'd come to the woods to find peace, yet now he couldn't shake the notion that the forest itself was studying him. 3. The encounter. The 12th night was windless and unnaturally silent. Eli sat by the embers, staring into the fading fire when he saw her. At first, he thought she was a reflection, some strange trick of smoke and moonlight. But she stepped forward, the silver light tracing the edges of her form. She was tall, impossibly slender, her skin faintly luminescent like the belly of a jellyfish. Her eyes were large, liquid black, reflecting starlight as if each one held its own sky. She wore no visible clothing, only a shimmer around her body that distorted the air. Camouflage, perhaps, or something more advanced. Eli froze. His mind screamed to run, yet his body stayed rooted. The woman tilted her head, studying him as if he were the anomaly. Then, with a voice that seemed to echo both inside his head and outside of it, she spoke. "You perceive me now. That was not intended." Eli's throat tightened. Who are you?" "Observation Unit 3L, she said, though the name rippled strangely, like liquid over glass. "Designate, liaison. My function is to study your species' adaptive isolation behavior." He stared blankly. "Study isolation." "Yes. You remove yourselves from your collective to repair the mind." You retreat into primitive habitats. Fascinating response to environmental stress. Her tone was calm, analytical. Yet there was something almost tender in the way she watched him. Curiosity softened by empathy. Eli's fear shifted into a trembling awe. How long have you been watching me? Since you entered the forest perimeter. 12 of your cycles. 12 days, he swallowed hard. Why? You were alone, she said simply. And I wish to understand what that means. For the observer and the observed. They spoke through the night. Her language was complex, but she adapted quickly, mirroring his words, adjusting to his tone. Eli learned that Thrael's people were not invaders or saviors but archivists, beings who traveled between worlds to observe consciousness itself. They gathered stories of solitude, evolution, and the fragile ways life seeks meaning. Your species, she said, is remarkable for its loneliness. You build cities to be together, yet drown in silence among millions. Eli almost laughed. You're not wrong. Do you not fear being alone? He thought about it. I came here because I thought I wanted to be alone. But lately, I'm not sure. It's peaceful until it starts to feel like disappearing. Thrael's gaze lingered. We understand disappearance. Our kind once lived among stars too bright to survive. When they died, we learned to walk unseen, carrying their memory. There was melancholy in her voice, and for a strange, aching moment, Eli felt connected to something vast and grieving. He asked if she could show herself fully, without the shimmer. She hesitated, then pressed a slender hand to the air, deactivating the distortion. Light rippled outward, revealing her true form. Humanoid, yes, but composed of translucent hues shifting between silver and blue. Her veins glowed faintly, like rivers of light beneath crystal skin. Eli whispered, "You're beautiful." Beauty is a subjective response of mammalian neurology, she replied, but there was a flicker of amusement in her eyes. They sat together until dawn, speaking of stars, extinction, and memory. When the first rays broke through the trees, she faded, her image dissolving into the morning mist. I will return, she said, if your heart continues to ask questions. 5. The promise of return. Days passed. Eli resumed his routines, but nothing felt ordinary. The forest seemed charged, alive with invisible frequencies. Sometimes he caught glimpses of her in the distance, just enough to know she was near, watching, learning. He began to write again, pages upon pages describing his conversations, sketches of her form, theories of her origin. His loneliness was replaced by a strange anticipation, a tether across dimensions. But on the 20th night, he woke to find the forest glowing. Above the treetops hovered a sphere, vast, silent, translucent, its surface rippling like a liquid mirror. The air vibrated with a deep, harmonic tone. Eli stumbled toward it, calling her name. A beam of soft light descended, parting the mist, and Thrael emerged. Eli Mercer, she said. It is time for me to depart. He felt his chest tighten. You can't. You said you'd return. I did return. Many times. Observation is complete. Eli shook his head. Then take me with you. The alien woman's expression softened, almost human. You would not survive the translation. Then let me remember you, he pleaded. Don't make this just another story. Thrael stepped closer, placing her luminous hand against his chest. The contact was electric, yet soothing, a vibration that seemed to reach into his heartbeat. You already carry remembrance, she said. It is embedded in the resonance of your mind. When you speak of me, when you dream of light between trees, You continue the observation. Tears blurred his vision. Will anyone believe me? Belief is irrelevant. Experience defines truth. And with that, she stepped backward into the beam. Her form disintegrated into filaments of light, drawn upward into the sphere until the sky dimmed and fell silent again. Eli stood there long after she was gone, the forest whispering her absence. 6. The return to the world. Weeks later, rangers found him hiking back toward civilization, thinner but lucid, carrying his journal and a broken camera. He said little, only that he'd seen something extraordinary. Back in the city, he tried to resume his life, but everything seemed smaller. The buzz of traffic, the endless chatter of screens, all of it felt artificial compared to the raw stillness of the woods. He began to share his story online, under the pseudonym Solitary Witness. Most dismissed it as fiction, but a small group of readers believed him, or wanted to. One evening, as he was typing his account, the lights in his apartment flickered. His computer screen distorted, filling with static. Then, just for an instant, an image appeared. A forest illuminated by starlight, and a faint silhouette of a woman made of light. Life froze. The message that appeared on the screen was simple. Observation continues. Then the image vanished. He stared at the blank monitor for a long time, a smile forming through tears. He realized then that solitude was never truly empty. It was the space where the universe chose to listen. 7. The final transmission. Years later, explorers discovered something deep within that same stretch of forest. A circular area of vitrified soil, perfectly preserved, radiating faint electromagnetic pulses that disrupted compasses. Scientists called it an anomaly. Eli called it a memory. In his final journal entry, dated 3 years after the encounter, he wrote, "Perhaps we are all being watched. Not as subjects but as stories. Each of us a signal sent into the dark, waiting for someone somewhere to understand our loneliness. She found me because I was ready to be seen." Eli Mercer disappeared soon after. His cabin was found intact, his notebooks missing, and a strange pattern carved into the surrounding trees, an interlocking spiral of symbols that glowed faintly under ultraviolet light. Some said he'd gone mad. Others believed he'd been taken. But on quiet nights, hikers still report seeing faint blue light moving among the pines, pulsing softly like a heartbeat, never menacing, only observant. And those who stay long enough, those who sit in the silence and listen, sometimes hear a voice in the wind say, "You are not alone."